Society tells you that you need a tribe. They say you must surround yourself with friends to be happy. This is a massive trap. A tribe forces you to compromise. You lower your standards to fit in with average men. You start talking like them and acting like them. The architect rejects the pack. He understands that greatness requires extreme isolation. Do not bend your iron will just to keep weak people around you. Walk away from the noisy crowd and learn to dominate the silent dark. People are heavy luggage. When you carry a large group of friends, you carry their problems, their fears, and their endless complaints. You are trying to climb a steep, brutal mountain with 10 massive rocks tied to your back. The journey to the top requires you to travel extremely light. You must sever the ropes, drop the heavy bags of average relationships. When you finally walk alone, your speed will increase violently. Leave the slow walkers behind at the bottom of the mountain and climb. The top of the mountain is entirely empty. There are no crowded parties at the absolute summit. The air is very thin and it is freezing cold. The weak man is terrified of this isolation. He stays in the warm valley with the sheep. You must condition your mind to love the freezing cold of the summit. If you cannot sit in a dark, empty room and work for 12 hours in total silence, you do not deserve the crown. Embrace the brutal emptiness of power. You cannot forge a lethal weapon in a crowded room. The blacksmith needs total concentration and absolute silence. When you allow people to enter your workspace, they bring chaos. They interrupt your rhythm. They extinguish your fire. You must build a massive wall around your daily execution. Lock the door, turn off the phone, enter the dark forge alone. It is just you, the heavy hammer, and the raw iron. Sweat in the dark, suffer in the dark. Build the heavy empire in absolute, terrifying solitude. You think your friends are completely loyal to you. They are not. They are only loyal to the comfort you provide. When you decide to wake up at dawn, stop drinking, and execute a brutal plan, they will try to stop you. Your new discipline makes them feel like failures. They will try to drag you back to the bottom. True loyalty is extremely rare. Stop defending people who secretly want you to stay average. Cut them off with zero emotion and continue your forward march alone. You are the exact average of the noise you consume. If you spend your day listening to weak men complain about the economy, your brain will adopt their frequency. You will become a victim. You must completely cut the toxic transmission line. Wear the heavy armor of isolation. Do not let their garbage enter your mental fortress. The cold mind prefers the sound of total silence over the empty chatter of the masses. Protect your frequency. Starve your ears of weakness and listen only to execution. Most men are terrified of being completely alone. When the room goes quiet, they immediately reach for their phone or turn on a screen. They do this because they are running away from their own internal monster. They cannot face their own dark thoughts. You must do the exact opposite. Sit in the dark. Face the monster inside your head. Defeat it and put a heavy leash on it. When you conquer your own mind in the dark, you will never fear any external enemy again. Build a massive iron wall between yourself and the outside world. Do not grant free access to your energy. Make them pay a heavy toll. If a conversation does not bring extreme value, money, or knowledge, it is a waste of your precious oxygen. The dangerous man is a closed vault. He operates in the shadows and keeps his circle terrifyingly small. The fewer people you interact with, the less friction you experience. Shrink your circle until it becomes a single, unbreakable dot of intense focus. Look at the physics of the universe. A massive planet does not move around to seek attention. It simply exists. Because it is incredibly heavy, its gravity pulls everything else toward it. You must apply this to your life. Stop chasing people. Stop seeking new connections. Sit in the absolute dark and build your mass. Lift the heavy weights. Build the elite skills. As your value becomes undeniable, the world will naturally be pulled into your orbit. Become a massive, immovable object in the cold void. The tallest, strongest trees in the forest do not grow their roots in the sunlight. The most vital part of their empire is buried deep underground, in complete darkness and isolation. You must adopt the exact same strategy. The work that makes you dangerous cannot be seen by the public. It happens late at night. It happens when everyone else is sleeping. Do not show them the roots. Work silently in the dirt. By the time you emerge, you will be completely impossible to tear down. Seeking a pat on the back is the behavior of a dog. A dog performs a trick and waits for a reward. The weak man works hard for one day and expects the world to applaud him. The wolf does not seek validation from the forest. He simply hunts. You must completely kill your desire for external praise. Execute the plan because it is your brutal duty, not because you want a trophy. When you stop needing their applause, you become immune to their criticism. The path of the emperor is a lonely road. You will lose friends. You will be misunderstood. People will call you cold, distant, and obsessed. Accept this reality with a heavy smile. Do not explain your mission to the peasants. Do not apologize for your brutal focus. Wrap yourself in the dark cloak of isolation. Walk the freezing path alone. The pain of solitude is the exact price you pay for absolute freedom. Leave no tracks. Build your iron fortress and reign in total silence. Every bridge you build to the average world is a pathway for distraction. Weak men cross these bridges to steal your time, your focus, and your energy. You must pick up the heavy axe and chop the bridge down. Cut the steel cables. Let the bridge fall into the dark abyss. When you destroy the access points, you protect the empire. The cold architect requires a moat of absolute silence around his castle. Stop building bridges to people who only want to drag you down. Empathy is a leak in your armor. When you listen to the tragic stories of weak people, their failure infects your brain. You start making excuses for them. You start feeling sorry for their laziness. Raise the heavy iron shield. Deflect their emotional manipulation. You are not a therapist, and you are not a savior. Your only duty is to your own brutal execution. Let their tears crash against the cold metal of your shield. Stay entirely dry and absolutely focused on the mission ahead. Stop explaining your plans. The desire to share your vision is a sign of deep insecurity. You want them to validate your future. The dangerous man closes the heavy book of his mind. He locks the pages. Nobody needs to know what you are building until the shadow of your empire completely covers their house. Move in absolute secrecy. Let them assume you are doing nothing. When you finally open the book, the results will be so massive that no explanation will ever be needed. Time spent entertaining fools is time stolen from your destiny. When you sit in a room full of average conversation, you are bleeding seconds. You can never buy that time back. Break the hourglass. Refuse to wait for people who do not respect your mission. The cold mind calculates the value of every single minute. If an interaction does not build the empire, cut it short immediately. Walk away mid-sentence if you must. Guard your remaining time with terrifying, violent, and ruthless aggression. Look at the chessboard. The pawns move together in a crowded line. They are cheap, weak, and easily sacrificed. The king stands alone. He is the ultimate target, and his movements are deliberate. You must accept the physics of the king. Leadership is a solitary burden. You cannot rule an empire while standing in the middle of a crowded party. Step away from the pawns. Elevate your mind to a level where nobody else can breathe. Rule the board from the freezing, silent top. A group of people will always change your direction. They will suggest a safer route. They will tell you to rest. They will mess with your internal compass. You must freeze the needle, lock your direction on true north, and shatter the glass. Do not let anyone adjust your coordinates. The dangerous man plots his course in the dark, locks the heavy iron wheel, and sails directly into the storm alone. Ignore the passengers who scream for safety. Keep the ship moving forward. A sword has a wide edge, but a spear has a single, terrifying point. That point takes the entire weight of the weapon and drives it through the solid armor. This is the power of a solitary mind. When you remove all social distractions, your entire physical and mental weight is focused on one single strike. You become the heavy iron spearhead. The masses are dull and wide. You are sharp, narrow, and lethal. Pierce through the noise and destroy the target in total silence. Solitude is not empty. Solitude is kinetic energy waiting to be released. When you isolate yourself, you pull the heavy iron pendulum back. You build massive potential force. The longer you stay in the dark, the heavier the weight becomes. The weak man swings constantly and achieves nothing. The cold architect pulls the weight back in silence, waits for the perfect moment, and releases a single, devastating strike. Use your isolation to build terrifying momentum. When you finally swing, shatter the entire foundation. You are the only judge of your reality. Do not wait for a jury of your peers to declare you successful. Your peers are average, and their judgment is flawed. You must hold the heavy steel gavel. You make the laws. You deliver the sentences. When you walk alone, you become the absolute authority of your own universe. Smash the gavel down and silence the courtroom. The opinions of the weak are officially dismissed. Execute your ultimate vision without asking for a single permission. An iron pillar stands alone in the wasteland. It does not lean on the trees. It does not hide in the grass. It takes the full force of the wind, the rain, and the lightning, and it never moves. This is the final form of the cold architect. You do not need a support system. You do not need a safety net. You are the heavy, immovable structure. Let the chaotic storms of the world crash against you. Stand completely alone and remain entirely unbroken. When the party ends, the fire dies. The weak men turn to cold ash without the crowd to keep them warm. They need external friction to feel alive. You must be the single glowing coal that burns intensely in the dark, entirely on its own. You generate your own heat. You create your own brutal light. A dangerous man does not need a tribe to fuel his ambition. He is a self-sustaining nuclear reactor. Burn brightly in the freezing void of your own isolation. Welcome to Zenith Construct. We do not walk with a herd, and we do not seek the warmth of the crowded valley. We climb the freezing mountain alone. If you are finally ready to cut the heavy ropes, drop the dead weight, and master the brutal physics of absolute isolation, subscribe now. Join the ranks of the solitary kings. Build your empire in the dark. The soft, social version of you is dead. Let the era of the cold architect officially begin.